Good morning. You listen to FloorDaily.net, and I'm Kemp Harr. This morning, my guest is Dunn Rasbury, the Director of Business Development for the flooring business at A&M Supply, and also this year's president of the NAFCD. Dunn, how you doing?
Doing great, thanks.
I wanted to talk to you. I know just a couple weeks ago, the NAFCD had a virtual meeting. It's not like being together, but that's what we had to do thanks to COVID. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how the NAFCD, which stands for the National Association of Floor Covering Distributors, how that group is doing. Tell us about the state of distribution in the flooring business.
Overall, I would say the state of distribution fared better than a lot of the rest of the businesses in the country. A lot of us are built around residential and builder business. Thankfully, that business has stayed fairly strong through the pandemic. I think there's a lot of psychological and economic reasons for that, but I think that we've been hurt less than a lot of other industries out there.
Last time we talked, you had said that 19 was probably one of the strongest years in the history of the organization, and you had almost 80 members. Did that change much in 20?
Actually, it didn't. We had a little bit of regression last year, and a lot of that was just, I think, more about uncertainty about the future than anything. A lot of it, I think, also had to do with our value proposition as an association is a in-person convention, and we weren't able, obviously, to have that this year. I would say that we did, considering the circumstances, we're still in great shape. Kevin and his team did a great job of kind of holding everything together along with the board, considering the circumstances and everything we face.
You had Brian Beaulieu spoke, as he always does, at your virtual meeting. He was still pretty optimistic, wasn't he?
He was. I was just on with another ITR webinar yesterday, and things still look very, very positive, at least for another 18 months or 24 months. They don't believe that the change in the administration, if that occurs, is going to impact that. They've been predicting maybe a little bit of a slowdown in 2022 anyway. It looks like the next 18 or 24 months are going to continue to be strong.
Is there any way of tracking, can you tell as a collective group whether or not the 80 members are going to do as well as they did in 19, or will they be just short of that? Do you have a feel for that?
I think if you looked at the year as a whole, I think everybody would tell you that they're probably not going to do as well as they did in 19, but better than they expected when the pandemic hit overall. I can tell you that a lot of people, that second quarter was a big hill to climb as far as climbing all the way back out. But the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter were strong for most people that I know about, whereas the second quarter was a pretty big hill. I think overall, most everybody feels like they're coming out of it much better than they could have, but probably not quite in line with 2019.
One of the things you mentioned from the stage last year when we were together in New Orleans was that you felt like 2020 was going to be potentially turbulent times. You're talking about the election, which you've already just mentioned. You're talking about tariffs, which played out about like we thought they were going to. And you also talked about this is the stage of an Amazon world. So let's get another take on what distributors are doing in an Amazon world to remain as a viable sector in the business.
COVID has accelerated the need for excellent customer service and more of that Amazon-type model. Now, two-step distribution, the way it's set up in the flooring industry, is never probably going to reach the automation point that Amazon has achieved. But something close to that feel and something close to that model, I think COVID has only accelerated. It's accelerated a lot of different things that we had on the radar for 18, 24, 36 months out that now is sitting in front of us as far as customers' expectations, customers' needs. So what we were looking at over the next longer-term period of time, I think is stuff that we're all working on right now at a much more higher rate, things like e-commerce, automation, even in some cases AI. I think all of that has come to the forefront much more quickly because of COVID and will only become more important as time goes on.
Actually, the problem today is finding a code writer that can have time to get some work done for you, right?
Absolutely, because everybody's recognized the need for that, and the customers are absolutely demanding it. And as a company right now that's in the process of implementing an e-commerce site, new CRM, and things like that, we are certainly feeling the crunch of getting that done because our customers are absolutely demanding it.
Yeah. You know, as I think of the headlines we've run on Floor Daily this year around this topic of distribution, one has been continued consolidation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What we've seen is some consolidation within the industry itself, distributors that were already in the field together, joining forces or one acquiring the other. But what we've also seen is something that's a little bit different over the last few years is private equity acquiring distribution companies. So there's two different models for it. Some have obviously worked better than others, but we've seen two types of consolidation happen, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes forward, considering the change in the industry and what we're looking at right now. Everybody's facing uncertainty given the pandemic and the economic uncertainty right now.
Talk about the changes, if you would, at the board. I know you're coming off as president, a new slate of folks moving in, right?
Shane Richmond from the Fishman Company has done a great job as president-elect. I feel very good about where the board is given the current level of leadership in it. Of course, I'm not leaving the board entirely. I'll be immediate past president next year. But Shane is going to do a great job. Kyle Corney is right behind him. And then we've got some younger folks that are coming up through the ranks. A.J. Warren is a younger guy that's coming up as vice president, will be on the executive committee next year. Yeah, we're excited. The NAFCD is in good hands with the leadership that's in there now. I think that they'll be able to do a great job doing this year while we're trying to figure out how we move forward with everything, hopefully in an improving market.
And if this vaccine works and we can get together, where are we going to get together next year?
We're going to get together in Dallas. We had a great convention there a couple of years back. We have a great venue, and so that'll be exciting to get everybody back together again. Then we're back in Chicago and then back into Baltimore in 2023. So it's an exciting slate of venues coming up for the NAFCD convention.
All right. It's good to catch up with you. Thanks for telling us what's been going on in the distribution business. Again, been talking to Dunn Rasbury, the Director of Business Development with A&M Supply on the flooring side, and also the just past president of the NAFCD. And you've been listening to Kemp Harr and FloorDaily.net.